Good morning from Southern California. Today I wanted to talk to you about how to prevent your dog from jumping on your guests. So, we're in the holiday season, and many of us will have guests coming over. And even throughout the year, we'll have parties at our house, we'll have dinners at our house with people that come over, friends and family, right? So, this is a good skill to make sure your dog knows how to do well. Now, you probably have been working with your dog not getting so excited about jumping on other people, but they're not quite there yet, right? And, you know, to be honest, we don't want to be embarrassed by our dog when our guests come over. So I have two tips I would like to share with you. So, who am I? My name is Linda Kwan. I am the owner and trainer at Wow Bow Wow. We specialize in working with pet parents with pups up to about 2 years old. We help the pet parents understand their pup so training becomes easier. So, like I said, you may be working with your dog, training your dog, but they're not quite there yet. They're not like 80 or 90%, proofed yet. So you're just kind of getting a little worried about how they're going to be reacting when people come in the house. They could get worried and scared for sure because, the pattern of the house like schedule and routine is going to be changing. So they may get worried. So my first tip is, especially if you have a new dog that's not been exposed to a lot of guests in the house, is to have a great management setup. In my other training tips, I've talked about making sure your dog have a safe place where they can go get away from other people, where they can relax and sleep, have a sound sleep even. So with that in mind, you know, making sure your dog, has access to that place. And during the party or a gathering, it may be even a good idea to set up a gate to prevent your dog from coming out of there um, to your guests. Because when the dog is out and about and too excited, he may or she may start jumping on the guests. So uh, the first thing is to prevent it by preventing them from access to your guests. So keep them in that safe space with, something that they can like chew on or licky mat with food on it, with wet food on it, or one of those food dispenser toys, whether it's like a West Paw or a Kong, or one of those that roll around and food comes out. Giving them something like that to entertain themselves and to keep them calm while they're hearing the different kinds of noises and smells that are not the usual things that goes on in your house, right? So that's tip number one. Tip number two, if you think your dog is a little bit more advanced and is almost there but not quite, you can practice with a couple of your first guests. Now, I wouldn't say do this for all the guests that are arriving because it may be just too much for your dog. But for the first, like, three or four, depending on what you think your dog can handle, teaching your dog to greet that human as they come in. Now, the best way to do that is first making sure you set up a gate or something in the front doorway area. Sorry, Jill's barking at something outside. Jill, calm. Good girl, good girl. So, setting up a gate in the doorway area where your guests will be arriving, having a bowl of their favorite, first of all, I prefer using their food if they love their kibble, but you can mix the kibble with some treats if you like. And as the guests arrive, having the guests, when the door opens, give the kibble or treat at the level of the dog's nose, where the front paws are actually on the ground, right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So if that makes sense to you, give me a 1 in the comments. If you need a better description or video of that, let me know that too, if you need a video of me demonstrating that for you. And I'll share that in the comments later. Basically, having the gate at the front door, and then as the guests arrive, having the guest use the kibbles or treats and feed the dog through, the gates. You can feed them through the holes of the gate if the dog is like smaller, but feeding them at the nose level where the front 2 paws are on the ground. So doing that a couple of times until the dog is a little bit calmer, and then opening the gate to let the human in. Because usually it's that initial interaction where the dog is really excited, and that's where the jumping occurs. So, so teaching the dog and helping them calm down the first, 20 seconds or so before the guest comes in. Now, like I said, I don't want you to do that with every guest that comes in. If you have a lot of guests coming, that's just going to be too much for your dog. So maybe the first 3 or 4. So that's a good way of practicing with your guests and your dog. And you can make it a game. Whoever can get your dog to calm down in less than 10 seconds, you have a door prize or something, right? So hopefully these tips were helpful. So let me see if anyone's joining us. Let's see here. If you're joining us, where are you tuning in from? And what is your pup's name? And for those of you who don't have a pup yet, but are thinking of getting one and have stumbled upon my videos, let me know, what kind of dog are you bringing home for the holidays, right? Are you getting one for the holidays? So if you are, what kind of dog are you bringing home? And for those who are bringing home a new pup, I have these great resources for you, free resources. And I'll put the links in the comments later. But the first one is a schedule, a sample schedule, a routine that can give you an idea of how many hours your dogs maybe need sleep, when you should be feeding your dog, maybe times that you can be playing with your dog, and so on. So if you like, you can check that one out. And the second one is actually potty training, because the first one talks about the routine, but in that routine, part of that routine is taking your dog out for potty training, right? Taking your dog out for elimination. So I have a second resource about potty training with more information that may be helpful in getting you started. All right, thank you for joining us for our Training Tip Tuesday, and I hope you have a great holiday season.